All right, ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of time, I propose we continue right away. I think our time management is not optimal today, but we have lots of interesting content, so I think it's nice that we had the opportunity to listen to Niels. Now we will continue talking about AI, which is, of course, very, very interesting, but we will focus more on logistics. What I would like to introduce you to Dr. Dietmar Guhe, who is the Vice President of Cloud and IT Infrastructure at Arvato. And I had the pleasure of meeting Dietmar in the context of a keynote, so I can tell you that he is an expert in AI, and also he's an expert in actually using AI, right? So he knows how we can bring AI into logistics and how to improve logistics processes. And he also has, besides his expertise, a vision. And I think he will share a little bit of this vision today, and I'm really excited for his talk. And I will hand right over, and don't waste any of your time. Yeah. Thank you, Dietmar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. So the talk is about the deep sound of logistics, and after the talk I think you will know what I mean with this. I think all of you have already had this experience that someone comes to you and says, I want something from you, and you don't want to say yes, but you can't say no. I had this experience some months ago regarding with our Workers' Council. They asked me, Dietmar, what is your department doing? So I'm leading the infrastructure department, something about 100 people. Arvato is a logistics company. And I say I do the IT housekeeping. So everything which is on the desks of our employees, I might be responsible for this. So it's about SAP bases, network security, and all this stuff. And so they ask me what we are doing, and I think this is a valuable question. But really, it's not so nice to write a document about what is your roadmap, what is each sub-department doing, what are all these things about, so it takes a lot of time. I could have the possibility to delegate this, but then my director will say, oh, why I have to do this? And I will show you what is the outcome here. So one slide about Arvato. So we have some customers like Douglas, CSA, TOS, Rituals, and so on. And the areas are life cycle for fashion and beauty, tech, healthcare, and publisher. Something like 100 sites, which means logistics is for us to provide warehouses where we are storing the goods of our customers. So pallets in, parcels out. That's logistics for us. And this is the overall portfolio. You can get the slides later on, so if you want to read it, I will go just through it. Yeah, so in the area of artificial intelligence, there is now something like maybe a narrow intelligence. I think this is already reached. A general artificial intelligence, I think this is not already reached. And super artificial intelligence like Jarvis or HLL 9000 or the T1000, everyone knows this. Maybe this is not reached, and I don't want whether I would like to have this reached, but let's see. Maybe we are something between the blue and the orange one. The pity here is it's hard to understand to all our employees. So we have 17,000 employees. It's hard to explain what is artificial intelligence, and there are so many words around this with reinforcement learning, deep reinforcement learning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All these words, it's really hard to understand, and even not harder to understand, to explain it. So I will try to bring it on a different scale to make it more easier to explain. Maybe it's not for scientific reasons, but it's for explaining, it might be a little bit easier. One slide between this is what we can see is that artificial intelligence is now influencing all the platforms which are already available. So we come from the desktop, then we have mobile applications like Instagram and TikTok, and now we have AI, and now the circle starts. So AI is now improving all these platforms. These platforms are gathering data, bringing it back to AI, and then the circle starts. So we have a self-accelerating circle here, I would say. And the outcome is that change will never be as slow as today. So what is Arvato doing with this? We need some kind of vision, some kind of story to tell the employees, to make it a little bit more crispy. And so I say, okay, a word which everyone understands is the level of understanding. So on the left-hand side, understanding means I can follow rules, like I know how to set a comma. In the middle might be something like I know I can repeat what I've read. So I have read a book and then I can repeat what is inside. This next level of understanding. And on the right-hand side might be something like I can predict the behavior. So this is a more harder part for AIs or level of understanding. So maybe I can predict the behavior of my wife, and maybe I'm not as good at all these topics here. And on the other hand side, it is something like translation, transforming. So in the talk from Stefanie Rinder-Lemar, we have seen this transforming from speech to processes. And let's see what we can do from a logistic perspective here for our warehouses, what transforming might mean. So automation, storage automation might be a topic, or automated guided vehicles. You might have seen all these things. This is following rules. So there are circuits in the ground, and these vehicles are just following these circles, and so they have the rules and just following these rules. This is I would say on the left-hand side. Yeah. Next thing is we start to train artificial intelligences, and I have here two products. We call them Llama and Adem. Llama is the following. What you can see here on the left bottom is left top is a warehouse. All these blue boxes are shelves. 100 columns, 10 rows. So 1,000 picking places on one side. So all over there might be 100,000 or 200,000 different places to pick goods in this warehouse. So this all is all over a warehouse. And the red line is the line of one person going through the warehouse, picking goods from these shelves. And as you can see, starting in the top left, step 1, 2, 3, so on, and latest is 31 in the bottom right. And altogether, it's something like 1,274 meters. Persons in the warehouse are going between 10 and 20 kilometers per day. So it is a good thing to decrease this distance, sure. And everyone will say, okay, there are already algorithms like the Dijkstra just implemented. Sure, but I don't have only one person. We have 400 people in the warehouse going around. And so it means I have to distribute all the picking positions per day, 100,000 orders per day if it's a good day, to 400 people, and then the distance has to be short. That's not easy. And it's even not easy when you say, okay, we want to be fast with this. So you can have an algorithm, but it doesn't make sense to have the result on the next day. Yeah, I need it good. Orders are coming in the morning, and then I need the result 10 minutes later. And what we did here is we took all these picking positions, the white dots, put them to the black box, and that's it. And then we say, okay, artificial intelligence, please learn what are good dot distributions and what are bad dot distributions, and the artificial intelligence learns this. So for a human being, the difference between these pictures might be not so huge, and artificial intelligence can learn it. And the results are amazing. So the thing what I would say is, it is not obvious that these kind of problem can be solved with these methods. So always think out of the box. There might be solutions where we think, okay, this is just normal solution would be a Dijkstra, but could be a completely different approach here. Next thing is RDIM. I say, okay, this is a goods in process here. So there's new goods, and then we take these goods, put them to a table, and there's a camera and a weight. So weight is already measured, and the camera is now, and the artificial intelligence is creating this red line around this box and saying, okay, the width is so, the height is so, the depth is so, and all this data is directly transferred into SAP together with the weight. And so if we're sending the goods, we actually know immediately how big our sending boxes needs to be. Very fast, very easy. And it not only works with boxes, it also works with shirts and all these things. Yeah? Artificial intelligence, not generative AI, in use for years. Yeah, this is nothing new. It's just on the storyline. We say, okay, we have automation, and we have here these kind of artificial intelligences. Yeah, okay. And now we're coming to the more interesting things, and we call them EVELIM. And we just heard it, that employees might like to have some guidance or some artificial intelligence helping them answering questions. And these answering machines we call EVELIM. And this, for example, is what I said. Yeah, I had to write something. Sorry, this is in German. I had to write something for the Workers' Council, and I just said, okay, please, artificial intelligence, write something about Azure Information Protection Optimization. It gave me some sentences. Then I went through it, said, okay, this is wrong. I have to rewrite it a little bit. And then next topic, software-defined network. Yeah, next topic and next topic, next topic. After 3 hours, I had a 10-pager, and I was proud of it because I'm an IT guy. Writing documents is not in my comfort zone at all. Yeah, and at least it was a valuable product. Yeah, I could send this around, and it was describing what my department is doing. A learning here is, if someone else would have written this document, it would be rubbish. It needs an expert to review these kind of documents. So if we give an artificial intelligence to someone who don't know what to do with it, that's a problem. So if someone else has written this and don't know my department, yeah, it won't be true what's inside there. Yeah, it was helpful for the expert. For me, I would say I'm an expert for my department. For everyone else, it wouldn't be helpful. When we look at other things here, sorry, one step back. This is an artificial intelligence helping me directly. Here's some general artificial intelligence we are providing to our employees, answering questions like, what's about sabbatical? What's about a company bike? What's about vacation? And this is just answering, yeah? And this is, the problem here is the data. We have already heard this. Data is an issue because data quality is, yeah, the AI don't know whether a document is in good quality or not, whether a document is even valid. So most documents have in the document name a date, so first the date, then an underscore, and then the title of the document. Yeah, but the AI don't know which is the latest document. It takes everything as it should be, and then yeah, just generating content, and that's an issue. So we have to go through all our documents and say, okay, this is valid, and we have different workers' councils, so this is valid in this area, this document is valid in that area, and so on and so on. That takes time, but at the end, the employees love this. They say, I can now ask questions which might be stupid, but no one is seeing that I'm asking this question that really makes sense. Yeah? That's for really, and our HR department is really enforcing this because it's so valuable. And then we have, on the other hand side, these very specific, so we call these tools EVELIM, very specific EVELIMs where we use them in customer projects. Say, okay, we have a new customer. Put the Evelyn in the, we are a Microsoft company, Microsoft Teams team as a tab. Go to this tab, and then if a project member has a question regarding this project, Evelyn will answer. It knows all the documents, it answers the stupid questions, it answers the brilliant questions, and it's going through the documents and saying, okay, this is the answer, and you can find it here and here. So you see here doc 1, doc 2, doc 3, so this is the link directly to the document, and the employees can then click on it and say, okay, I would like to read this, and then they see the real content. So also hallucination is not such a big problem here. Lawyers also love this, reading contracts, taking lots of time. They're getting contracts, 100 pages, and via email, and in the second line is, and please answer following questions. And really, they have to read it, and it takes a lot of time, and the AIs can do it much, much faster. But again, it needs an expert to realize whether the answers are correct or not. So AIs, just to augment the inabilities of employees, that's not the way we can go, at least today, I would say. Okay, and then we come to the logistics engineering co-pilot. We say, okay, we have this morning we have heard from Rindelamar that we can build processes from speech. So to type in speech and then or language, and then we can get processes. When we talk about to talk about microprocesses, so what is a picking process? What is a pack process? Just good, really small pieces of processes. Putting these things together, then we might be able to not anymore have these 9 meters of process charts, but bring these down to modules of processes. And this is where I say we talk about this deep sound of logistics. I say, okay, this is the music. These are the notes or the words, the sentences. This is the intrinsic of a warehouse. And this, for example, is some of these parts. Workflows planning. So I have employees, and some are good at picking, some are good at sorting, some are good at packaging. It's not allowed in Germany, but in other countries we can do this, measuring how fast the people are, and then we can say how to put the people to the different places. So which worker should pick, sort, and pack. And there are also the numbers. Yeah, on the left-hand side, 2,000 pieces per hour. On the right-hand side, 2,300 pieces per hour. 12%. That's incredible. That's an incredible amount. Yeah, and this is what I say. Some kind of microservice, a service to plan the people for picking, packing, and sorting. GitHub Copilot, most of you might have seen this, so it's for developers, bringing a platform to them so they can type in, please create a quiz for supply chain management and display the results in the bar, and then it immediately starts with programming. It's just, and the program can on the top right, there's the play button. So I press the play button, and then the quiz just starts. I accept the code, and then the quiz starts. Runs immediately. Again, this seems to be so easy. We can provide this to all developers. Again, only to the experts. Otherwise, we would get so much rubbish code. Code creation is so fast, really, and it is and this code, it is executable, okay, and runs and can perfect, but it's that's not good code. That's not the code I would like to provide to our customers. So no error handling, no interaction to other ones, no databases, nothing inside. Yeah, but again, it's fast, and for an experienced programmer, it might be helpful because they say, okay, please do this unit test here, or please document this and that there. Yeah, perfect. But for the for a newbie, might be not so good. The prompt you have seen was just write a quiz. A better prompt might be this one. This one is generated with GPT. The trick is create one with GPT, but now, as an expert in prompting, I can adapt this prompt here. Yeah? It's a better starting position for me. And again, you can put it in, and I can execute the video here, and the quiz is most likely the same. Yeah? It's generating the code, and I just skip this. Yeah, and what is the outlook? The outlook is to bring all these small pieces together, and that's the vision. And it's not technology agnostic. So I have automation things, I have AI parts, I have large language parts. Bring all these things together and say, okay, let's create these microservices and create of this a process steering a warehouse, and use large language modules for creating these processes. Henrik sent me this article regarding reinforcement learning via sequence modeling. I say, okay, a better approach might be large language modules. I cannot justify this, but it's a nice article. The problem with this deep reinforcement learning is, like in chess programming, in deep reinforcement, you are saying, okay, I have done a step, and maybe the step was good or was bad, and then I take the good one. But for chess, for example, the last move was not the best one. 20 moves ago, this might be the best move. Yeah? And large language modules might help to bring all these small adjustments in a row and say, okay, dear large language model, please tell me how I have to adjust my model. And that's what I understand from this article. And this might be very helpful in designing warehouse processes. So it's not that we're taking all the data, but really to take to build some digital twin and try it out with data and say, okay, let's use large language modules to adapt the process for new models. Another example of these microservices, ask Microsoft how to do this, and say, okay, it could be, to create these microservices, to be fast with this, you can use already here. It's GPT 3.5. These kind of machinery say, okay, you are a virtual assisted program to help with stocking boxes. So it's about stocking boxes, and you will receive the dimensions, depth, width, and height. And please stack the boxes in a way that they are most likely stable. That's it. And this prompt is also generated with GPT. Just put in the prompt. And now I just provide to the AI sizes of boxes. Box 1, 30, 20, 10. Box 2, 40, 40, 40. Box 3, 20, 20, 20. Box 4, 50, 50, 10. And now it's stacking the boxes and say, okay, first box would be the one with 50, 10, 50. And it also returns the box because the 50 times 50 should be on the ground. There might be better algorithms for sure, but this is fast. It took me 10 minutes. Really, this is, just try it out. And this is GPT 3.5. There are better. So in 3 months there might be better large language modules. And with this kind of technology, I think we can create microservices, if we don't already have them, like workflows or ADIM or Llama. And these Llama, this is really, there was months of deployment time used. Yeah, this is better, but this is fast. This is generating a digital twin. This is quite fast, and I'm very confident this is possible because there are so many different Gen AI models on the market in so many different areas. And it's growing and growing and growing. This is what I said. Yeah, it's a self-improving process. It's going absolutely around. So if something is working out today, I just have to wait, and maybe only weeks, and then it's there. This is, to give another buzzword here, these microservices may be then called domain-specific language. Language is then, okay, picking process, and the AI understands what is a picking process, understands what is a sorting process. Yeah, so I create words, and then the syntax and semantics of these words. Yeah, and in the end, it might be fake, but it's sorry. There should be.
I'm getting lost in an underground. Eminem, bro. There's something that I made as a joke, and it works so good. I could not believe it. I discovered those websites that are about AI. Basically, you can write lyrics in the style of any artist you like. So I typed, write a verse in the style of Eminem about future rave. And I went to another AI website that can recreate the voice. I put the text in that, and I played the record, and people went nuts.
Again, the trick is use different technologies, bring them together, and then, okay, this is fake, but it's still terrific. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dietmar. Do we have questions?
The speaking cube, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the talk. I'm an IT consultant. I also build a lot of microservices at the moment. And the first and one of the most important questions I always have to answer with them is, do we give OpenAI or Anthropic a ton of money and then use their models? Or do we, because you showed all those alternatives, do we implement one of the smaller open source models and customize them more to our use case to have full control over it? Have you had any experiences with the second option yet?
We are talking also to other vendors. The pity is the results from OpenAI are much, much better. So GPT-4 is so good and so fast with so short deployment times. It's really hard to get another model. So we tried it with other companies, yeah, and failed. It really weeks of work, prompting, redesigning the prompt, and GPT just type it in, it works. 10 minutes. Without a developer, yeah, the businessman just said, I can do it with GPT, and then that's really an issue. So one enabler of these large language modules is for sure the availability of GPUs. And only the big hyperscalers have the ability of using thousands of GPUs, these graphical processing units. This is expensive. And yeah, so it's regarding energy, money, GPUs, and data. And so not a lot, because if we try it, it doesn't really work.
So Dietmar, can you say anything about the, like just a ballpark figure? I mean, because you have this Evelyn.
Yeah.
How much does it cost you as a company? Can you say anything, or is that highly confidential?
That's not highly. Running costs, I would say, less than €1,000 a month, and deployment costs, half a year, one person.
So it's, I mean, for organizations,
20,000 euros.
Yeah,
it's really, this is the technology is available. Yeah, this is just to bring it on the stage. So we started. So the question is so hard to answer because we started not with Evelyn but with Eve, and Eve was just a chatbot. and indexing documents. And new hires, they love Eve. They say, okay, now I know how to go to the canteen and know how to book vacation and those things. If people are longer than 3 months there, they say, okay, Eve cannot answer me anymore because it cannot really find it. And the pity was really this data management. And with Evelyn, data management is much easier. So we have some history here. That's the reason why it's so hard to answer. But really, if I would say from scratch now, from scratch to Evelyn, 1 month, 2 people. And then running costs are quite low.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize for people who haven't taken into this.
It's right? Just available, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Other questions? Here in the back.
Yeah, you mentioned the T1000. Are you ever scared of this rapid development?
Yes, I am. So I like it, but I have the feeling that we are a little bit naive here. Because it's splitting the company, so some people are using it, and they are augmented by these technologies, like MI. So I can increase my profitability, but there are a lot of people not using this kind of technology, and that's why I try to explain it very easy. So when I try to explain GPT, I'm playing a game with the audience. So it's just that I say, okay, let's start with a word and let's create a fairy tale. And when I start here, I say, so we are creating now a fairy tale, and we want to explain how LMI laws works. Fairy tale, and I start with the first word, and it is once.
Up on?
I don't know.
Time.
Wolf? I don't know.
A wolf?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Also incredible, yeah? Already, thank you. So this is like GPT works. Exactly this way. It is just start with a word, take a next word which might fit. We were hallucinating maybe a little bit regarding the wolf. I don't know when a wolf is now here. Yeah, but this is the way I try to explain it to our employees, that it's that they lose the fear to this. So and also true is that we have some scenery. I said, okay, let's create a fairy tale. Okay, then when we started to create a fairy tale, and for the first word, once, this is enough for the second word. And this is like GPT works, taking the next word which might make sense in this context. Yeah, and still there are people fearing this technology, and yeah, that's splitting the company. That's the problem. So yes.
Yes,
there are fears, but there are also lots of advantages. Yeah, so it's really also helpful.
So maybe what I would propose is that we take all that fear and we take it outside this room.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dietmar.
Great.